Hello and welcome to my video review of the Dreamscreen. This is a Ambilight clone, active backlighting system for TVs and projector screens if you want to do that. And yeah, I'm just going to be going through just the pros and cons of this thing and, what's so great about it. First up, just quick disclaimer, this whole kit was sent out for free for review purposes by Dreamscreen. And I'll leave some links in the description down below so you can check them out and pre-order if you wish. Okay, before we get started with the review, here is a very quick unboxing. There's a little important notice in here that's just about cleaning the dust off the back of the TV. Then we have the user manual. The website has more information, just download it, it's a bit easier. And then we have the contents of the box. Inside the box, you've got the Dreamscreen puck itself. Comes in two versions, 4K and HD. I've just got the HD version here. Next up, we have the switch mode power supply. This thing's pretty beefy. I think it's 8 amp output, 12 volts. Pretty beefy. It comes with the correct figure 8 power connector. And then we have the HDMI cable. It's a flat HDMI cable. Not a huge fan of these. They don't really bend very easily. You'll see later in the install. And then after that, we have the LED strips themselves. Not the best design. Again, I'll get on to that later. But this is basically what's in the box. And you got that instruction manual and everything as well. Let's just take a quick closer look at the actual puck itself. It comes in two variants, as I said before. There's the 4K version and the normal HD 1080p version. That's the version I have here. Taking a closer look, you can see that we have an HDMI output that goes to the TV on the left. Got two LED outputs. I'm only using LED output number 1, but you can add a second set of LEDs if you wish. There's also that 5 volt DC barrel jack on the bottom there. Up the top, you've got the microphone input. That's for the visualizer for listening to music and stuff. I haven't really messed around with that. I don't really have a microphone to plug into it. Directly adjacent to that microphone input, just a 3.5mm jack. You have mode and source. Source is to switch between those three HDMI inputs, and the mode is to switch between different modes of the device. So you have normal like Ambilight mode, then you have the music react mode, I believe. And then you have the visualizer, which is just like you can preset it to go through a bunch of different LEDs. Like it can be like a rainbow or it can be like a fireplace. I like the fireplace one. It looks really good. And then lastly, we have the USB input. Now this is mostly used as a trigger. So you plug a micro USB cable into the device and then you plug the other end of it into the USB port on your TV, which is switched when the TV turns on. So what you can do is when you turn the TV on or off, it'll switch this from standby into the active Ambilight LED mode, which is really convenient. Moving on to the installation, remember no one's going to do this for you. It went fairly smoothly. The only issues are all the LEDs are connected in series. There's no interconnects on them, so that makes it a bit difficult to route wires and stuff around. The other issue is the way that the wires connect to the actual LED strips themselves is quite strange. They're on a right angle, and this puts a lot of stress on the actual solder connections themselves, and it makes routing the wires quite difficult. It would have been nice to see them just use some sort of 4-pin Molex connectors or something like that. So if one LED strip does fail, you can just remove it and plug another one in. On another note, the actual adhesive they use isn't very strong. It's that very weak 3M stuff. If it is really actually 3M tape, I don't know. It would have been nicer to see them go with the much thicker 3M foam tape that another company has used that I've reviewed in the past. That works way better for especially uneven surfaces like the back of a TV. It adds a bit of dampening to the actual adhesive. I've had this on my TV for a couple of weeks now and it's starting to peel up, so I might replace that with some actual foam double-sided tape. The tape this one uses is just that really thin stuff. Yeah, horrible. On another quick note, the LEDs appear to be individually addressable. They're 50/50 RGB LEDs, which makes for some really cool effects. I like it. Keeping on the topic of installation, the actual puck design of the Dreamscreen isn't really ideal in a home theater situation. It makes routing cables really difficult. The included flat HDMI cable is also quite hard to deal with because you can't bend it very easily, so you might have to look into changing that out for something else. The brightness controls of the LEDs are handled via PWM. Even at really short duty cycles, I haven't really noticed any flicker to my eyes or even to the camera, which is very interesting. All the settings and more advanced features are controlled via their app. You can get it on iOS and Android. The Dreamscreen connects to your local network via Wi-Fi and only supports BGN 2.4 GHz. There's no AC or 5 GHz bands available. As you can see, the layout's fairly clean, although a little bit dated looking already. On the main screen, you have access to all three features: the video Ambilight mode, the music visualizer, and the ambient light mode. These modes just run through predefined sequences for the LEDs, and it gives some really cool effects. My two favorite are random colors and fireside. Fireside really does look like fire when it's splashed against the wall. It's really nice. And in the more advanced settings, you can adjust saturation for the lights themselves. As you can see, because my wall behind my TV is green, I turned down the green channel a little bit just to hide that. Then going down, we have the music visualizer. I haven't really played around with this too much, but as you can see, you can adjust how the LEDs are fired. Then we have advanced settings. This is for adjusting zone control. If your TV's in a corner or something, you need to adjust the brightness. There's CEC options. That's for device chain controlling and stuff, so you can turn the TV on and off with this, other things with that, and pass through. Look up CEC, it's quite interesting. Next we have the installation settings, so you can either go with a custom setup or you can choose between their predefined settings. The predefined settings are for if you buy the strips from them, or you can install your own individually addressable LED strips if you're installing this on a sort of custom display. And then lastly we have the firmware update and factory reset. Okay, so I've been assured that this issue I was having has been completely fixed in the retail version of the hardware. I have a beta version of the Dreamscreen. I've been told that it had an issue with HDMI cascading, which caused the HDCP to not function properly, and therefore you get no display on the TV or the Dreamscreen. The only workaround I found for this was to use an HDMI splitter that strips out the HDCP, so the content protection. This cascading issue is only really evident when you have a AV receiver in between the Dreamscreen and your source. However, as I've mentioned, they've assured me that this issue is not present in the retail units. It was just in the beta unit that I had. Jumping back to the actual hardware design of it, it doesn't really fit very well. The problem is, because it's a puck shape, you can't really integrate it very well into a pre-existing setup. You've got cables going everywhere, they're all going different directions. It just doesn't fit. It's not very uniform. It would have been way nicer if it was just like a square box that you could sit behind the TV and all the cables plug into the back of it and you wouldn't have to see any of this mess. As I mentioned before in the light pack review I did a couple of years ago, it's just kind of like a mess in terms of wiring. The LEDs on the back are fine. Again, I would have liked if they had some sort of connectors on them so you could replace individual strips, and if they weren't at right angles and whatever. But it's good. It's just not quite there yet in terms of the hardware design. It's messy. That's all I have to really say about it, is it's quite messy. It would have also been quite nice if they did some current limiting on the little LED indicator they got on the front. In a dark environment, as in like a home theater, the little bright LED sort of, it sticks out a bit like a sore thumb. Don't get me wrong, the app itself works quite well. I just don't understand this constant need for a lot of products to be able to be controlled by a phone. Most situations that's fine, but something like this, if I just want to adjust the brightness of the backlight while watching a movie, I have to whip out my phone, make sure it's connected, mess with it, and then save the settings, and sometimes it doesn't save because I think it's mainly just an issue with my phone. But these basic functions could just easily be done with just a simple remote control. Even changing between the different animations, like the random colors, fireside, all that sort of stuff. Why do I have to use my phone for that? The processing's done not on your phone, it's done by the device itself. You could have just had a simple infrared remote or RF remote, press the button, boom, you're done. It makes it kind of janky experience if you want to be like, oh, I'm just going to turn this light on here. You know, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's more of just making it an Internet of Things, or you know, those buzzwords, it kind of kills the product for me, makes it difficult to use. I would have rather just had the main setup features. That's fine. Like if you want to change the CEC pass-through and things, sure, do that through an app. But why can't I just simply adjust the brightness or change the mode or change the animation mode using just a simple remote, a $2 remote? That's all I asked for. Okay, before I leave you here with some footage of what the device is actually like when you're using it in a normal setup, I just want to recap over the pros and cons, things I like, things I don't like. So starting out with the pros, it works well. It does what I wanted in terms of I don't have to use a PC app, so I can use it with my Xbox. It's really what drew me to the actual Dreamscene in the first place, was it didn't require a Windows app to run. It didn't need any of that. It was fully standalone, which is awesome. The other thing is it's sort of streamlined. Again, I would have liked if it uses a remote instead of an app for everything. Also, the option to have a static color as the backlight is also very good. Some say that it helps with contrast ratios and stuff, or perceivable contrast ratios when watching movies or TV or anything. And it can also help color saturation. It sort of makes it look a bit nicer. But having said that, there's a considerable amount of things that I think they could have done better. As in the actual layout of it, it looks nice in a photo, but it doesn't really work in the real world. Like when you're trying to set it up in your like entertainment system or whatever, you got cables that go left, right, either way. It's kind of messy. It's kind of like an octopus sort of thing. It's just going everywhere. Also, why do I have to use an app for basic functions? I know I can change the mode and the source using the buttons on the side of the device, but what if I want to change the ambient animation? Like if I want to change it from random colors to blue or something, I could have easily used a remote control for that. Why would I have to go scrunch around, find my phone, whip it out, press the button, make sure it works, press the button again, sort of thing? It's like it would have been much more elegant to go with a remote control for basic functions, and then setup you could use with your phone, or you could use over USB on a computer or something. Also, why have a continuous strip for the LEDs, no interconnects, and why are they soldered on at a right angle? Like, the wires themselves they're pulling a lot of strain on those solder connections. No strain relief on it. There's a bit of resin, but it's very soft resin. It just seems like a part that could easily be damaged or fail over time. Also, I'm sure this was just a simple oversight on their part, but the adhesive that the strips use isn't up to the task. It's not strong enough, and it's too thin. When you're working with an uneven surface, like the back of a TV, that really thin double-sided tape tends to peel up because you've got a lot of tension from the actual LED strips themselves wanting to flatten out. So using a foam-style double-sided tape that has a bit of give in it would have worked really well. I know this isn't the sort of review they were looking for, but I'm going to be honest with you. It works okay, but it has a lot of issues. It's more of like trying to be something cool rather than something completely practical. Anyway, apart from those little issues that I have, it's actually a quite solid device, just needs a bit of tweaking. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with some footage I shot of the device in action, and you can make your judgments from there. My camera isn't the best, so sorry about that. Anyway, and that's the end of this review, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye!